recording, so we can kind of just lead up into it. I can just trim this out.
Yep, sure thing.
Coming to 10 to go here in the HTL Duel in Daytona. Dean Clavitt leads. Mark Parkhurst, Dylan McDonald, top 3. Matt Steven sitting in 4th. Alistair Kirk, one of the more winningest drivers in HTL. Road Course Ace sitting in top 5 as they try to determine their starting spot in next week's Daytona 225.
Yeah,
Kristina?
this is the risk that these guys are running, because you notice that 78 car popped out. Wood Jr. looked for a second, then popped back down to the bottom. There's a little bit of lane forming in the back of the pack, but if you pull out of this line and nobody goes with you, you drop straight to the back, and you're going to be starting this race from the back. And that is what is so difficult. And you see the outside line at the back. They don't have anything to lose, so they're trying to form that line up. If they can move up, you're going to see some moves, but right now nobody. Well, now Wood Jr. does pull out, but it's such a risk to pull that move.
And you see how far that you see Greg Wood just trying to make his way forward, trying to side draft. He's on his own. He doesn't have that help of that backwards group, so he's either got to wait for them to get here. You see a little bit of help there. I believe that is Corey Covey. No, it is not. That is Corey Andon, who is actually on the move.
Stumped him. He left him. He went back to the bottom. See, that's the cutthroat. That's the opportunity taking. Do you try to help the 78, maybe go to the front, or do you look at it as, look, I can get a position here? You see, no, but now they're both losing time because they're side by side. It's given a little bit of breathing space to the top 5, top 6 in front. They're looking really disorganized behind them too. So this outside line needs to get it together and get it together fast. Still side by side.
Yeah, I was going to say, Andon's beginning to drop back a little bit. They've side drafted each other, Andon and Wood. They've been struggling a little bit to try to get back to that group. The more that Greg Wood and the 78 side drafts, the more it holds back Andon as they come out of turn 2. 8 to go!
They've nearly touched there out of 2. And now what this is going to do is if they can settle their dispute and get lined up, they're going to have such a run on these guys. But they need to get in line, and they need to be doing it right now, because they are running at a risk here of losing that whole pack right now. And obviously, if you can't stay with the pack, you're gonna run out of time. So it's critical that they stay with the leaders here. 6 cars under a blanket for the lead. And look, they've already got a half second between 7th now.
But interestingly enough, they've given that second pack that we had more ammunition. Now they've got more cars in that second group. Can they use that momentum to try to make something happen? That top 6, very organized, but momentum is key. And this group that we're looking at right now, sitting on your screen, being led by Boone, Covey, Wood, and Andon, have the ability to do something below the white yellow line. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's why we had to tuck back in on it and think a little better of it. But if they need to push Andon ahead of Wood Jr. so that they can get that first car cleared. Then they can start making the momentum they need. But now it might not matter, because here comes this outside lane. But look at it. As we sit here, Carmen, look, it's already over 7/10. They are going to lose the lead pack, and we've only got 6 laps to go. Look at this. That's race over for these guys, unless... we got a crash behind there.
It was Estep in the wall. Nathan Estep in huge trouble.
And we stay green in the meantime, but Estep below the yellow line still has the car rolling. Doesn't look like a caution is out, or maybe it is. I'm not sure, because now they're looking really dispersed up front. And now the caution does come out.
And this changes everything. Coming to 5 to go.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? This is going to really bail out Wood, Andon, Swatsworth. All those guys back there in that second group now get one more chance at it. That is something that they got lucky, because they were never going to make that back up with that little time unless they started racing really hard up front. So really unfortunate for Estep, but that's going to really bail out everybody else in that pack. And it's going to give us a 16-car shootout to the finish.
I'm going to see if we can go back and take a look at what happened. And Nathan Estep, here's what happened. And again, here's the move. Santiago was behind him.
Oh, he just got a bad bump. Oh, gets on that right rear. I think it was the right rear, and just It looks like he dumped him, but I promise you, it's a matter of pushing. They were trying to do that triple tandem. We know you can't push the pusher. And look at how far off to the right he is. Santiago just trying, they're trying all they can to catch that second pack, and they just get misaligned for a second. And that's how that happens. So really unfortunate for E-Step, of course. They'll try to fix that car and get it ready for the big show. But not going to be starting from where they really would like to.
Yeah, and again, you look back here. This is exactly what E-Step saw in the rear window. Santiago went to the right. E-Step got hooked to the right. And around it went.
Yeah, that is the most helpless feeling because there is nothing you can do in that kind of scenario. That is one of those situations where you can do everything right and just get one bad bump and you're in the wall, and you can't save that. There's not enough time to save that. And unfortunately for him, he's very lucky the car's still moving, but I doubt it's going to have any level of competitiveness unless we get that restart. We're only going to have a few laps to go. There's a good chance that we actually could have, he could still gain some spots here if we have a big mess coming to the line.
But now making his way to pit lane.
But now if you look at Clave, Parkhurst, McDonald, Stephen Kirk, because you got all these guys that were pulling away from the field, and they were thinking maybe we'll have this a six-man race. This is what they didn't want, because now they're going to have to do a whole pack behind them. Granted, they've had it on lock for most of the night, but at least most of this last stint. But it's not going to be single file anymore. It's go time. Nobody's waiting to move around. You're starting double file. They're going to be pushing who they push. Your friends are where you find them. It's going to get pretty crazy, qualifier or not. It's still a win at Daytona, and everybody wants to win at Daytona.
So far, nobody has won both the Duel and the 225. Dean Clavitt looking to do that. The only Canadian in this field, one of only two international drivers in this field, along with Alistair Kirk.
Does a little fake pit lane.
The little dummy that Blake Henderson also pulled there. No, that's not Henderson. That's Alistair Kirk. Identical liveries for the two, both running BFL cars.
Tell you what, we saw some really good racing up in that second pack. We're going to be seeing very similar. It's worth noting how close they were gridlocked. They were side by side for about 3 or 4 laps and lost all that ground, but they were fighting really hard for that position. We're going to see a repeat of that, but this time it's going to be for the race win and to determine the grid for the race. So it's going to be one of those situations where everyone's going to be on their toes, and we might see a little more of that 3-car tango, and we've learned time and time again, it really doesn't work too well. That doesn't mean they're not going to keep trying.
Now, luckily, this is all everyone's battling for third right now. Wes Fuller, pole position. He was taken out earlier in this race. His race is effectively over. Marcus Chafin starting second. Again, he's kind of just in here kind of playing the team game in the number 8 machine. Everyone else battling to start in that second row. Where's that going to sort of pack everybody up? With how important the team strategy is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see if Dean Clavitt can come in and mix that up. Obviously, Titletown Racing, front row lockout. Dean Clavitt for deep racing going to try to play a little bit of spoiler, but Mark Parkhurst, Dylan McDonald, a lot of friends up at the front that will not be working with Clavitt there when we get back underway, as we ride on board with Alistair Kirk, the Welsh living driver from the UK.
Yeah, and I like that you brought that up because, it determines the qualifying positions, and it is important to qualify well in these kind of races, but with a race as long as we're looking at coming up, and then the way that the nature of this track is, I always used these races personally more as a gauge of how the car handles, to learn things that you can and can't do in the draft. Find friends, find enemies, find people you do want to push in the big show, find people that you don't want to be around because you think they might cause issues for you in the race, etc. This is going to be a really good example. It's a very rare circumstance that you get to practice a green-white checkered for the biggest race of the year. And finishing positions determine starting positions, but at the end of the day, we can look at the qualifying positions for this race. Not many of them are exactly the same as what they were. So, and this is a much shorter version of this race. So we're going to get a green-white checkered, a natural green-white checkered. And we'll see what the gang can do. It looks like we still got 16 cars on the lead lap, so it's anybody's race.
Yeah, it really is. And you think this is the first time a lot of these drivers have raced together. Only 8 drivers entered this race, having been in Season 1. There's not a defending champion in this race. That would be Frankie Barroso, Dustin Hall, two of the winningest drivers going into this season, neither of which are present in tonight's event. So everything's up for grabs and a lot of unknown territory with the lights out on the pace car at the front of the field. Dean Clavitt, Mark Parkhurst, Dylan McDonald, Matt Stephen, row 2. Then it's Alistair Kirk, John Goodekunst, Greg Wood Jr., Corey Andon, Shad Swatsworth, and Marcus Chafin in the top 10.
Steven always finds a way to sneak his way into the back half of the top 10 or the top 5 in the end of these things, doesn't he?
It seems like it. We've seen that. We saw him race the NSR Motor City Cup Series at Daytona. One of the only 2 representatives for Toyota in this race. We'll see how he can do. It's him and Corey Andon in the 2 Toyotas. Pace car is off. It's on Clavitt on the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. It's showtime.
Yeah, critically, Parker's got a good start there to try and stay even with Clavitt, but doesn't have any help from behind. Steven did not get as good of a start. Now he's going to have the help, but Clavitt's already clear, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to make that energy work. They're going to have to hope that somebody pulls up behind, or they're going to have to start ripping tandies there on the top to try and get that momentum moving. Right now, it's all Clavitt and McDonald.
Alistair Kirk, I think, is the best one sitting right now. But the 78, Greg Wood Jr. moved to the front.
Oh, they nearly touch again. Wood has been so aggressive with the side drafts, but this is where it matters the most now. He's going to get up alongside Clavitt. They're coming to the white flag out of turn 4, and he has help. Parkhurst is with the 78, the man who nearly lost the draft a few minutes ago, now suddenly racing for the win.
Coming to the white flag. 1 lap to go at Daytona for the duel at Daytona. Greg Wood Jr. leads it. Does he make it back? There's a car sliding. That was Gary Donaldson that was sliding.
Yeah, no worries there. He's got the car rolling, and they'll be able to stay green. They've already taken the white flag, obviously. You see Steven trying to get some help on that top lane a little further back, but right now they're starting to spread out. Does Parker stay with Wood? No, he doesn't. He goes to the top now, but this is going to give Steven
really
a huge run.
Time. Oh,
they touch! Cars are everywhere down the back straightaway. Steven currently in the lead, but Goodekunst goes up as well. Now they're crashing everywhere in 3 and 4. Where are the leaders? Goodekunst currently the leader. Right there. They crashed again.
Yeah, 2 different crashes. One on the backstretch, 1 in 3 and 4.
Oh my goodness, Goodekunst is going to walk away with the win in the duel out of nowhere. He's going to win it. And then I think that's Kobe that comes home second, and everybody scrambles behind. Kirk third. It's just absolute pandemonium. It looks like a demolition derby as they try to get these cars limped back home across the line. Denny, Santiago, and Steven in 6th. Parker's looking like 7th place. My goodness, that really, it was so good for so long, and it went so bad in the blink of an eye, and it only had Goodekunst coming home to take the checkered flag here. What a finish.
Absolutely wild for Goodekunst for all of that to fall the way it did. Crashes all across the final lap, and it started with the white flag lap.
Oh, and they're still trying to get some of these cars back to the start finish. Oh my goodness. Goodekunst comes around, still has all 4 tires on it. Premium after that last 2.5 miles, and John gonna burn it down, the Michigan native, in the grass at Daytona. It feels great. Doesn't matter if it's an exhibition, a qualifier, or a 500, what have you. Winning at Daytona is amazing as they're still trying to come across the line behind him.